Welcome to the Book People. I'm Aishwarya Javalgekar, a writer, book editor, podcast producer, and the head of originals at Bound. In this path-breaking podcast, I demystify the publishing and creative industries and uncover the biggest opportunities and challenges for writers in India today. Welcome to another special episode of The Book People, where I take a particular topic or a question that writers constantly ask me, and I really break it down to look at every aspect of it and provide a comprehensive view. And if you haven't checked out the previous two ones that I've covered, I have looked at ghostwriting and I've looked at literary agents. And today, the topic that I'm covering are writing AIs. And what does this AI revolution mean for us as writers, as publishers, and as creators in these creative industries? So for the past few months, all we've been hearing about is ChatGPT and Bard and AI and how AI is going to do all the writing in the world and replace writers completely, right? Every day we see AI, writing books, AI is writing articles, is writing show notes, is writing social media posts. Recently, I even used ChatGPT to create a travel itinerary for Sri Lanka, and it gave me such a detailed and researched sort of itinerary that would have taken me hours and hours to do by myself. Right? So, AI is definitely doing something and it's adding value, and people are talking about it constantly. But the question that's on everyone's mind, and I think this has become a point of major sort of stress and anxiety and insecurity that everyone is trying to answer, is AI going to replace writers or is going to replace creators in some way? So I decided to face this beast myself. And I thought, why don't I try a bunch of different writing AIs to kind of see how they work, how easy or difficult they are to use, what kind of content are they able to create in terms of, the quality of writing. And finally, is this something that can really replace me as a writer or as a creator? I looked at ChatGPT, obviously. I looked at Bard by Google, and I looked at AI writer, Writesonic, and Copy. So I've used a bunch of these different AIs to kind of understand what they do, how they work, and here are my observations. So let me go back to the basics. What are writing AIs? Right now, I don't want to answer this very simple question. Obviously, it's artificial intelligence. Obviously, there are programs that help you write faster, that help you write better. And we have used AIs for a long time. For example, Grammarly, which we use to kind of just after we've written something, check for grammar, for spelling, for punctuation, for sort of awkward sentences, is also a writing AI, right? Because it's a tool that kind of helps us write better content. Obviously, recently the AIs that have come out are not so much, editing or, providing grammar assistance, but are AIs that kind of can write things for you, right? So they can do research, they can pull out data that is openly available and then rewrite it or repurpose it or summarize it into its own words in order to create anything from blog posts to descriptions to scripts or books, right? So that's what AIs are doing right now. And how exactly does this work? So you open the AI platform, whether it's a website link or whether it's an app. You type a prompt. So there are two different types, right? There are AIs where you are able to type a prompt or say a title or a heading for an article, and it'll give you the entire article if you just put in the heading and some keywords. Then there are your chat-based AIs like ChatGPT, where you ask questions and you sort of have a conversation with them, and they are able to respond to the kind of questions you are asking with information, right? So it's not so much that they're writing an article, but they are responding. So you kind of have a conversation back and forth where you ask more and more detailed questions, and then they are able to give you the information that you kind of need to put everything together. So can AIs really create content based on your specifications? The answer at first glance is yes. So the first thing you need to know is AIs are incredibly fast. So the moment you put in a prompt, within 2 to say 30 seconds, it will spit out a decent amount of information, based on the AI, based on what you've asked for, about say 100 to 600 to 800 words on that particular topic in the format that you want, which is pretty great. And the thing is, they also give options. So with a lot of things like captions or social media captions, it will give you options of 3 different captions that you can then choose from or that you can build on further, which is a great thing for AIs. The second positive thing is that the writing is pretty decent. It's well written, it's grammatically correct, and depending on the AI, they'll also give you options in tone. So you can kind of choose whether you want a casual tone, a funny tone, a formal tone, and it will write the information based on that tone, which is super helpful for articles, or for emails where you kind of want a particular tone, or if you're writing like SEO articles for a brand where the brand has a particular tone which is more funny and less formal, and so you need the AI to also write in that particular manner. Some AIs don't just take information from Wikipedia level of research, but they actually go and take like the more latest information from sort of news articles or things like that to create the writing that they are generating for you, which means that it will have a lot of like dates, figures, statistics. But the thing is that because most of these AIs are still learning, a lot of the information can just be factually inaccurate. And so then what is needed is that extra step from our end to make sure that we're fact checking everything, we're making sure that the data is accurate, which obviously means that right now they're still a little unreliable, but this is something that they are kind of building on right now, so this might not be a concern even a few months or a few weeks down the line. But what this means for AIs is that they need a sort of human touch, right? So there still needs to be a person who is putting in the prompts, who is giving direction, who is approving keywords, who is, saying, okay, this flow makes sense, this structure makes sense, so that the AI can generate certain things. Then obviously the person is required to fact check, to, check once for grammar, to just to make sure that everything is correct. Like I said, some AIs obviously have these varieties of tones, but most of the AIs don't. So the content that they generate can also sound very, very robotic because it's just written in this sort of neutral tone. And so sometimes, again, a human is needed to edit that, right? To sort of edit the content to get in a certain tone, to get in a certain personality into the writing. And then obviously you need to know how to use these different AIs, right? Like you need a human who is operating the interface of the AIs to know exactly how this works, where I need to put in prompts, what will happen once I put in prompts. There are AIs where there are 3 kind of steps to even create an article, where you put in a heading, then they'll give you a structure, then you approve the structure or you make changes in the structure of the article, then they'll give you an outline, then you approve the outline, and then they'll finally give the article. So here, where there are these 3 steps of intervention, obviously a human being is required to kind of assess and approve each step in order to get that final article, even though the process might just take 5 minutes, which is still a shorter time than actually writing a complete article, right? And then obviously the chat AIs like ChatGPT, again, you need a human who is asking the right questions and knowing exactly what level of detail the question should have in order to get the kind of responses you want, is again something that is a learned skill and again requires a human touch. And lastly, AIs can't think for themselves. So yes, they are amazing. They can collate all the research into the world and put it into your lab, and that's like a magical, beautiful thing. But if you want to create original content, right, which is not repurposed, which is not summarized, which is not similar to content that already exists out there, something that has a fresh perspective or is a gap in the market, that is not something that AIs can do by themselves. So that still requires a human being who has original ideas, right? And it requires essentially originality and creativity, which ultimately is a very human thing and is not that at this point yet AIs can generate. So, in conclusion, AIs are here to stay. They are quick, they are efficient, they are easy to use. Most of the time, they are free, although now a lot of paid versions are cropping up, which is, its own thing to look at. But are AIs going to replace writers? The answer for now is no. Because like I said, AI still need the human touch, they still need originality, And the space that we're in right now has to be where AIs are looked at not as a threat, not as something that can replace or is competition to writers, but as tools that writers can use to write faster, write quicker, make their own process easier and be able to write more. Now, obviously, this is a very productivity based thing where, the idea is that in jobs, people will use AI to kind of make their process faster. There are also a lot of ethical concerns with AIs, with when it comes to research or when it comes to plagiarism. These are questions that are still being answered, that are still being debated by different people, by AI, founders, developers to AI ethicists, but there are no clear answers of yet. There are also questions about copyright when it comes to AI, which again is a question that we don't have an answer for yet, and we might not have for the next few years. But what is definitely going to happen is that people are going to start using AI to make their jobs easier. And I think that is something that all of us as creators, as writers, need to also get on board with to some extent, which is, can we use AIs to make our lives easier? Whether it's a writing AI, whether it's just an organizational AI that, makes my inbox so much easier to look at and navigate through. But, if we look at these AIs as tools that we can use and kind of improve our writing rather than threats to our writing, then I think that is the next step to go, because that will create the next sort of generation of creators and creative professionals who will be able to use AIs to, work better, have better productivity, be more efficient at their work, and in that sense, be able to go ahead with the kind of work that they want to do and create a lot more original content. So definitely try out AIs on your own to see, what your experience with them is. You can have a couple of ideas. You can get AIs to generate ideas for you. You can look at how they write, what are the different nuances, and play around with them, experiment with them. Most of these platforms have free trials, even if they are paid platforms. So you can use the free trials to see what works, how does this work. There is a large variation in the quality, the kind of output, the amount of content that you're able to get for free. And then if any of these AIs really speak to you or you feel like you find them helpful, you can obviously, continue using them, or you can use all of them and decide that none of this works and I don't need AI and I'm just going to do my own thing. But whatever the decision you finally make, don't do it without trying it out in the first place. Because in order to know what a world with AI would look like in the future, you got to try it for yourself. So thank you for tuning into this episode of The Book People. I hope you found this helpful, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a list of the writing AIs that you can start off with that I have also tried out in the description below, and you can definitely start by trying them out. Let me know what your experience is, whether you like them, dislike them, what your concerns are about AI, and I can see if I can cover them in the future. I hope you found this episode helpful. Let me know what else I should cover in the future in these kind of breakdown episodes. And if you have any questions about AI, or if you need help with your writing journey, with your publishing journey, then you can reach out to me at aishwarya@boundindia.com to see how I can plug in and help you with that. In the meantime, keep writing and keep creating.